Welcome to CelebTide.
I'm 15. Why is my boyfriend 20?
Why was my boyfriend 30?
Girl!
You know what I'm saying?
Demi Lovato appeared on the Baby, This is Keke Palmer podcast and opened up about her dating history and her dark past with Disney.
I had this mantra that was like, if you're gonna work me like an adult, I'm gonna party like an adult.
Oh.
And I got into some bad stuff at a young age, and that's when I started self-medicating.
Currently on a journey to recovery, Demi has reflected on the struggles she faced as a child star, revealing she often turned to older people for guidance because no one her own age could understand what she was going through, something Keke found similarities with.
Nobody our age could understand, but then you look back in hindsight, when I turned 30, I was like, that's not okay.
It's almost a mental break that can happen because you realize you were taking advantage of. Oh, I was being exploited.
Keke opened up about her age gap relationship, saying it felt normal at the time because she had been working in the industry from such a young age.
At 15, I'm thinking my boyfriend's older because I'm doing an older job and I'm doing a bunch of things and this is the way that it is, and it seemed normal in my mind.
Demi Lovato began her Sunny with a chance career at just 15, later revealing that the intense pressure of child stardom led her to battle substance abuse and an eating disorder behind the scenes. Now 33, Demi Lovato is happily married to musician Jordan Lutz and continues focusing on healing after years of openly confronting her past struggles.
Heart is so full. I'm so grateful for the relationships, the people in my life, my husband, getting to do this for a living.
Before we jump in, make sure you subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell so you never miss the latest celebrity news. Today's conversation has the internet buzzing because when Demi Lovato...
Now this is how you have a real conversation. Clap it up for Demi Lovato and Keke Palmer. Clap it up for these two millennial and Gen Z icons right here. You know, as a kid, you like somebody because of the character they play or the song they sing, but as an adult, you continue to like them because of the relatable person that they are, and they're not out of touch. That's what I get from these two women in this conversation. So Keke Palmer has a podcast, and for the new season, Demi Lovato was the first guest, also the ultimate choice. I loved seeing these two relate to each other, and they talk about mental health. They talk about being young teenage girls dating older men and how wrong that was, and just being young girls in an adult world in the entertainment industry. And yes, they're beautiful and they're talented and they're, gorgeous, but I love that they're real and they continue to be that way. Keke Palmer said, I love watching women grow in real time and evolve and choose themselves in every era. That quote really hit me because I see that in these two women. They're childhood icons, but they're also just amazing and continue to grow as legends. And I love that they're self-aware, honest, and they just show women supporting women, and choosing themselves in every era allows them to relate and be role models. Love it.
Sat down with Keke Palmer, the discussion quickly turned into something much deeper than a typical celebrity interview. What started as a relaxed conversation ended up revealing some very real truths about the entertainment industry, especially what it's like to grow up in the spotlight. Right from the start, the chemistry between Demi and Keke was undeniable. Keke's humor kept the mood light, but the stories they shared showed just how complicated life can be for young performers. Both of them reflected on their early careers and how, as teenagers, they suddenly found themselves working in adult environments with enormous expectations placed on them. Demi has spoken about these experiences before, particularly while discussing the realities of being a child performer. But hearing her talk about it with someone who had lived through similar situations made the conversation feel more honest and personal. She explained that at a very young age, she unexpectedly became the primary financial support for her family. Suddenly, there was money, responsibility, and pressure. Things most teenagers are never prepared to handle. That kind of responsibility can weigh heavily on anyone, especially when you're still trying to figure out who you are. Demi admitted that during those years, it rarely felt like she had the freedom to simply be a kid. Work schedules, performances, public attention, and expectations took priority over normal teenage experiences. And when she finally had moments away from that constant pressure, she sometimes coped in unhealthy ways. Looking back now, she recognizes that the environment she was in played a huge role in shaping many of the struggles she faced later in life. Still, she made it clear that she feels grateful for how far she has come and for the growth that came from those difficult chapters. Another topic that really stood out during their conversation was the way relationships were handled while they were growing up in Hollywood. Both women talked about how they were frequently told they were mature for their age. At the time, that phrase sounded flattering, but in reality, it often blurred important boundaries. When you're working with adults, earning adult money, and constantly being treated like someone older than you are, it can make relationships with older partners seem normal, even when they shouldn't be. Looking back now, both Demi and Keke said their perspective has completely changed. Demi has previously addressed this topic in her music, particularly when reflecting on her past relationship with Wilmer Valderrama. At the time, it didn't seem unusual, but when she later reached the same age he had been during that relationship, it forced her to see things from a very different perspective. Interestingly, this wasn't something unique to Demi's experience. Many former child stars have spoken about hearing the same phrase over and over again. "You're so mature for your age." Even Hilary Duff recently explored that idea in her music, describing how older partners sometimes use those words in ways that blurred appropriate boundaries. The conversation then shifted to another major challenge young performers face: competition. According to Keke, the entertainment industry often creates an environment where young stars are constantly compared to one another. Media headlines and fan conversations frequently placed young actresses side by side, turning their careers into a kind of rivalry. Names like Selena Gomez and Miley Cyrus were constantly compared during the peak of their Disney era. For teenagers already dealing with fame, that kind of comparison could create unnecessary pressure and insecurity. Demi explained that her friendship with Selena actually began long before their Disney Channel fame. The two met while working on the children's show Barney and Friends. Having that connection helped Demi feel less alone when she later entered the highly competitive environment of the Disney Channel. Still, the industry itself often encouraged comparison rather than support. For young performers trying to build confidence and identity, constantly being measured against others made things even more challenging. Demi also opened up about one of the most difficult periods of her life. After the tour for Camp Rock 2, the final jam, she experienced a serious emotional breakdown that ultimately pushed her to seek help and begin a long recovery journey. During that time, she spent a lot of time reflecting on her past actions and relationships. She even spoke about making amends with people she had worked with earlier in her career. Demi admitted that while filming the Disney Channel series Sunny with a Chance, she sometimes wasn't the easiest person to work with. But with time and reflection, she realized that much of that behavior came from feeling overwhelmed and unsupported. The industry expected constant performance, but very few people stopped to ask how she was actually doing behind the scenes. Keke immediately related to that feeling. She explained that while many adults in the industry appeared friendly, there was often an unspoken understanding that the main priority was simply getting the job done. Because of that pressure, Keke said she eventually developed a very strong and energetic public personality. In some ways, it became a character she created to deal with the expectations around her. Toward the end of their conversation, the topic shifted toward the modern music industry. Both women agreed that success today feels far more unpredictable than it did in the past. Years ago, radio play and traditional promotion played a major role in determining whether a song became successful. Today, viral moments, streaming numbers, and social media trends can completely change the trajectory of an artist's career overnight. Because of that unpredictability, Keke said she worries about younger artists entering the industry today. With so much competition and uncertainty, it can be easy for artists to take every setback personally, even when the system itself is constantly changing. For Demi, the biggest lesson from everything she experienced is perspective. Looking back, she understands that many of her struggles were shaped by the environment she grew up in, not simply personal failure. And hearing two performers who spent their childhoods in the spotlight speak so openly about these experiences is exactly why this conversation has resonated with so many people around the world. Thanks for watching. Like, share, and subscribe to my channel.